Hey there, you just clicked on First Down Punts. Nice move. This is a podcast about football and how it relates to fantasy football. Hope you like what you hear. We're going to get this thing started. Let's get crazy. And welcome in, everyone, to another episode of First Down Punts. I'm your host, Coach Chris. Today, we're going to be going over the schedule review and record predictions for the 2025 season for the NFC and AFC East. These are the last two divisions we have to do before we can do our playoff and Super Bowl prediction video, and then move some more into fantasy football and preseason football as we get closer to the regular season. A couple things of note while we're going over the NFC East. Tyler Guyton, I know this has been out for like a week or whatever, but Tyler Guyton is out for the season, the offensive lineman for the Cowboys, so they're having more issues there. And it's definitely going to play a part just with what they've lost already, and now Guyton being out for the season. I do love Booker, the draft pick they got in the first round, but he's only one man. There's 5 spots on that old line. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. We're going to start off with last year's division winner, Philadelphia Eagles. Last year, we all know they won the Super Bowl. They went 14-3 and 4-0 in the playoffs to win their second Super Bowl, I believe it is, overall. Definitely second, like the last 8 years. They won one with, what's his name, Doug Peterson, and now they won one with Nick Sirianni. They lose quite a bit on defense, as well as Mekhi Becton, the left guard that came over from the Jets prior, and now he's gone to the Chargers. So that's a boom for the Chargers, a loss for the Eagles. But we will see what happens over the course of the season. They still have one of the top 5 best offensive lines, even losing Becton in my mind. And that'll definitely play a part in their success their season. They haven't lost anything else very much other than Kenny Gainwell at their skill position. So they still got A.J. Brown, still got Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert is back and supposedly healthy. So they got most of their parts going into the season, but they did lose a lot on defense. And being that they went 14-3 last year, there's always a chance of taking a couple games less than that. But we'll see what happens as we get into this. Week 1 versus Dallas on Thursday Night Football. This is the season opener. They will, I'm sure, unleash their banner and have a little celebration prior to the game. And the Cowboys will be none too happy to see that. But that Philly defense is still good. They didn't lose everybody. And they get a win, start 1-0. Week 2 at Kansas City. I got this as a loss. Chiefs get the revenge after that butt whooping they took in the Super Bowl from the Eagles. Chiefs come back and just get a win. Eagles, not as serious as a game. Maybe they stumble here or there in the first, second quarter, get off to a rough start. Chiefs get a win. Week 3 versus the Rams. Los Angeles Rams come to town. Stafford's back's acting up, so if he is going to miss some time, it'll probably be early in the season. Even if he isn't, I still think Philly's the better team, so Philly gets the win, goes to 2-1. Week 4 at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Big fan of what the Bucks are doing, but as you know, we just said in the NFC South video, they do not start off on very well to start the season. Bucks get the loss. Eagles move to 3-1. Week 5 versus the Broncos. Now, this is going to be the Eagles' first really tough challenge as far as the defense goes. The Chiefs got a really good defense. Dallas got some parts. Rams got a good defense, but nothing like the Broncos are going to have this year. And I got the Broncos getting a win. Eagles falling to 3-2. Week 6 at the Giants. Thursday Night Football, coming off a tough game versus Denver, but they're not trying to lose 2 in a row against the inferior team. They get the win over the Giants. Week 7 at Minnesota. Minnesota, like I said, I think they're going to be able to score some points. If McCarthy can function at all as a starting quarterback, I still think they'll be able to score some points. But their DBs would concern me in this game as far as it goes against the Eagles, because even if they try to stop Barkley, they'll just throw it over the top to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Eagles get another win. Week 8 versus the Giants at home this time. They just beat them a couple weeks ago. They come right back, get another win versus the Giants going into the bye week, week 9. Coming out of the bye, week 10 at the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau, Monday Night Football, but with 2 weeks to prepare, rest it up. They come out and get a win over the Packers. Week 11 versus Detroit, Sunday Night Football. My Lions hosting them. Or no, I'm sorry, going on the road to Philly. Philly hosting the Lions. And I got Philly getting a win here. Not something I'm happy to say. Could definitely play a part later on down the road in our playoff predictions. Week 12 at Dallas later in the season. Couple big wins. They're on a 5-game win streak, 2 after the bye there. They just drop one here to the Cowboys. Cowboys put up enough points. Maybe Hurts throws a pick six. Maybe he's missing a game. He's known to miss a game or two throughout the season. So with that running capability, he's always liable to get banged up at times. All the same, I got the Cowboys getting a win here. Moving on to Week 13 versus the Chicago Bears at home. I don't think Caleb can handle this defense. That's the gist of that. I don't know if that defense can handle this offense. That's a Philly win. Week 14 at the Los Angeles Chargers, Monday Night Football, going out west, night game, big travel, tough game. I do think the Chargers are going to be competitive, and they have a winning record. I think I had them finishing 9-8 with a chance to make the playoffs, depending on what else happens. But I got the Eagles getting a win, man. I give respect to teams that do what they did last year. They've lost some parts, but they ain't lost all of them, like I said. So the Eagles are still going to be a good team, probably still going to win the division, probably still going to be a playoff contender or a Super Bowl contender going into the playoffs. Chargers drop one, Eagles get a win. We move on to Week 15 versus Las Vegas. The Raiders coming to town, west to east, versus a really good team. As competitive as I think the Raiders are, I don't think they're going to be able to compete with Philly. So that's another win for the Eagles. Week 16 at Washington, division opponent. Both teams made the playoffs last year. Jaden Daniels a superstar, no doubt about it. And the Commanders get a win there at home versus the Eagles. Week 17 at Buffalo. Depending on what's happening with the receiving core in Buffalo and how good their defense is playing, this is a game that I went back and forth on. But I gave it to the Eagles at the end of the day simply because I think the Eagles got a more complete team and some more dangerous weapons. So if it comes down to making a play, I'm going to trust the team with the better weapons. Week 18, final game of the season versus Washington at home. Depending on what happens with Washington, this could be for the division. And then Washington already has the first game they won. So Week 18, big game. Everybody's playing because they got to make sure they sew up the division. That's a win for the Eagles. Overall, Eagles finished 12-5, so they take a step back from that 14-3 record they had last year. But 4-2 in the division, 10-2 in the conference. They went 10-2 in the NFC. That's going to give you a good shot to win the 1 or 2 seed there for sure. On to the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas last year went 7-10, missed the playoffs. Dak missed time. CD played hurt. Now Micah missed 4 games, I think it was. Now they got the dysfunction going into the season. Once again with the contract issues, they've had Dak, then they had CD. Now they got Micah. Micah Parsons needs to be paid or trade. Like if Dallas was smart, they would trade him and get a haul, in my mind. But that's not Dallas's way. Jerry loves being in the news. That's what part of this whole show is about. Back and forth. He tried to do some behind the door business, and I know he's done with other players. There's been reports of that before, without the agent involved, just trying to get something agreed upon, probably cheaper than what he should be paid. At the end of the day, Micah just wants to get paid, and the fact that a contract hasn't been done, okay, Jerry, if you agreed to something, and Micah agreed to that, he could tell his agent to agree to that. So clearly, you're not even willing to pay him what you agreed to, and you're trying to get it for less by bringing up missed games. He missed games playing for you on a cheaper contract. That's all there is to it, man. Along with Guyton now being out for the season, they did trade for Pickens. They got Jaden Blue in the draft, signed Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. Their run game, who knows what it's going to be. It's probably not going to be very successful. Maybe more like the New England Patriots when they use James White coming out of the backfield, kind of as the short pass equals the run game. I think that's more likely what's going to happen in Dallas this year. And with Pickens and CD and Ferguson, their tight end, that just got a new contract, they could definitely draw attention away, so they could use Jaden Blue coming out of the backfield. But as far as running success, they're not going to be the Cowboys of old. That's for damn sure. So going into it, week 1 at Philly. We just talked about this with the Philly schedule. This is a loss for the Cowboys, win for the Eagles. Week 2 versus the Giants. This is a game that, look, man, the Giants pass rush is going to be dangerous. The division is always a tough thing. The division games are always tough. But I do got the Cowboys getting a win here. I just think they're the better team. That's all there is to it. And a healthy Dak, healthy CD, healthy George, healthy Ferguson, I think they can put up enough points against the Giants that the Giants won't be able to score with them. They got neighbors, Theo Johnson, who knows what's going on with that. I do like Singletary, but let's not pretend like he's dominant. And I do like Tyrone Tracy, again, not dominant. They got a decent run game. They got a good offensive caller in Brian Daboll. But at the end of the day, I don't know how good the Giants are going to be this year. I don't have them winning a lot of games. So Dallas starts 1-1 on to week 3 at Chicago. That's a win for the Cowboys. I think that if Mike is not playing, Chicago probably wins this game. If Mike is playing, he can get to Caleb Williams, rattle him. I'm not confident in either of these teams' run games, but I do like the pass game better for the Dallas Cowboys with Dak and CD and George Pickens, as opposed to Caleb Williams, mainly because, like I've said, I'm not big on Caleb Williams. Don't really trust him. He's got to prove some things to me. Week 4 versus Green Bay, Sunday Night Football. I got the Packers taking this win. Even though they're coming down to the Cowboys and it's showtime, the Cowboys want to show up. Unfortunately, they could just show their ass and not play very well. So Packers get the win. Cowboys fall to 2-2. Week 5 at the New York Jets. This is the hardest game. This was the last game I picked on the schedule. I had to skip this and go back and forth because I'm big on the Jets this year. But I do think the Cowboys could definitely get to Justin Fields a little bit with Mike Parsons and a couple of those linebackers. And by this time, Travion Diggs may be back at corner, so that would definitely help the cause. But it's a game I can see going either way. I can see the Jets winning. I can see the Cowboys winning. I gave it to the Cowboys here to start 3-2. Week 6 at Carolina. This is another one of those games. Not as tough for me to pick. Just a game that I could see going either way. But I gave it to the Cowboys. Probably end up winning some game like 27-24 against the Panthers there. They both put up some points, but at the end of the day, Dallas puts up a little bit more. Week 7 versus Washington. Commanders, playoff team last year, big on Jaden Daniels and what they got going on. Need to get Terry McLaurin signed. I think it'll probably end up being somewhere between 28 and 32. Obviously, he wants some guarantees. He wants to be paid for what he's already done. But at the end of the day, man, I got the Cowboys getting a win in the first game against the Commanders at home, coming off a loss to Carolina. They don't want to lose another one right here. And Washington, they're going to have games where they just drop some, especially against a division opponent, which is a lot tougher. Week 8 at Denver. Not a chance in hell, Cowboys. No offense, but you're not on the same level as the Denver Broncos this year. That is a loss for the Cowboys and a win for the Broncos. Week 9 versus Arizona, Monday Night Football at home. This is one of those Cowboys pull out. Kyler lays a dud or throws a late pick, whatever it is. Definitely could see this being a Cowboy win. Week 10, they go into their bye week. Good breather time for a veteran team. Let's see what's happening. Right now, they are 4-4. Sounds like a Cowboys record. Coming out of the bye, they play at Las Vegas. They go on Monday Night Football to play against the Raiders. I told you how I feel about the Raiders. I got them going 9-8, I believe, on the season. This is one of those wins for the Raiders and a loss for the Cowboys. Week 12 versus Philly. I got them getting a win here. Just a later season win division. They lost the first time against them. Philly and the Cowboys always have good battles back and forth. Philly's going to be able to score. The Cowboys are going to be able to score. Maybe what some of those defensive losses show up for Philly in this game, and the Cowboys steal a win. Week 13 versus Kansas City. This is on Thanksgiving, Thursday. I think it's an afternoon game. It's not the Thursday night game. I think it's the 4 o'clock game. Cowboys usually are. So Cowboys versus the Kansas City Chiefs at home. Chiefs come in, get a win, spoil that Thanksgiving dinner. Week 14 at Detroit on Thursday Night Football. So Detroit and Cowboys play on Thanksgiving Thursday. Then they go to next week and play each other on Thursday. This is a loss for the Cowboys and a win for the Lions. Week 15. What is this? What's this at? I don't remember what. Yeah, no, this is versus Minnesota. Sunday Night Football versus Minnesota. This is a loss. I got the Vikings getting a win here. JJ goes crazy or something. Maybe Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason score a touchdown. Maybe the defensive line just gets some sacks and slows down the Cowboys all around. Makes them one-dimensional. Next thing you know, it gets ugly. Week 16 versus the Chargers. Chargers, like I said, they're in contention for a playoff spot, 9-8, same as the Raiders, but they got a better division record, so they already knocked the Raiders out. Chargers lose this one, and the Cowboys get a win, though. I do like that. Week 17 at Washington. This is a Thursday night football game on Christmas, so Merry Christmas to you Commanders fans, because that's a Washington win and the Cowboys loss. Week 18 at the Giants. I got the Cowboys losing this one. End of the season, they're not in the playoffs. Sometimes teams just give up, man. And the Cowboys don't seem like a very mentally tough team. They never have. They talk real well how great they're going to be every year, but at the end of the day, they're the Cowboys. So overall, I got the Cowboys going 7-10, 3-3 in the division, not making the playoffs again. Same record as last year, and just it's going to take, like, honestly, we need a new GM. Jerry is not a good GM. He plays these games. He doesn't make the moves that are necessary. I actually like some of the moves the Cowboys made while I'm talking shit about it. The getting Kenneth Murray from Tennessee, I like that. Getting the corner from Buffalo, I like that. I like the Booker pick. But the Cowboys had holes last year and didn't fully address that situation. They got Pickens, great. You got another weapon for Dak to throw to. Dak still got to stay healthy, Jerry. You said it too. They got to stay healthy. With that bad offensive line right now, it's not looking very good. It's hard to have sustained success. That's the gist of it. So, Cowboys 7-10. We move on to the Washington Commanders. Last year, Washington went 12-5. Surprised everybody because no one thought they were going 12-5. I was a huge Jaden Daniels fan, especially for fantasy, but I didn't think the Commanders were going 12-5 last year. They beat Detroit and Tampa Bay in the playoffs before losing to Philly in the NFC Championship game, and they got whooped by Philly, but most teams got whooped by Philly in the playoffs. So at the end of the day, like I said, they went 12-5. They got a bright future with Daniels. They need to get McLaurin signed. Getting Punts on a trade is great. Made a couple of signings, made a couple of good picks. The Jalen Lane kid, who knows, but they did go trade for Deebo Samuel. If he's got anything left, that's going to be an addition. Eckler, another old guy, but if he's got stuff left, that's still good. Brian Robinson, the running back, he's like, third or fourth year? He's still a young dude, man. He just got shot his rookie season and got postponed. I think this is his third year, but I can't remember. I have to go back and look. And then the old vet, Zach Ertz, with the young kid, Ben Sinnott, the senator, as some call him, backing Ertz up and maybe growing into something this year. We'll see what happens. But starting us off, week 1 versus the Giants, that's a win for Washington. I don't think they're dropping week 1 against an inferior team, and I believe Washington's going to be a good team. The Giants are not. So 1-0. Week 2, this is at Green Bay, Monday Night Football. I got the Packers taking a win here. Washington dropping to 1-1, early season loss. Week 3 versus Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders. This is a win for the Commanders, although I think it will be a competitive game, back and forth style game. Week 4 at Atlanta. I like the Falcons a lot this year. You guys know that if you watch my other videos, but I got Washington getting a win here. This is one of those Falcons losses. Washington goes to 3-1. Moving on to week 5 at the Los Angeles Chargers. This was one of the tougher games for me to choose. I like the Chargers, and this game, in the skew of things, after going through everything, it really didn't make a difference. But it's definitely a game that could have playoff implications just because of the win-loss records for both teams. But I got the Commanders getting a win here. So they're 4-1 right now, going into week 6 versus Chicago, Monday Night Football at home. Dan Quinn's not losing that game. Jane Daniels ain't losing that game against the guy that got drafted a pick before him last year in the draft with Caleb Williams. Look, man, people got pride. Jaden Daniels was already the better player in my mind coming out of college. I would have took him over Caleb, and I might have took Michael Penix over Caleb. I had them a lot closer than most people. But I got Jaden Daniels. I got more faith in him than I got in Caleb Williams, that's for sure. So Chicago drops a game. Commanders go to 5-1. Week 7 at Dallas. This is a loss, like I just talked about with the Cowboys. Dallas just gets an early season division win versus the Commanders, a good team, but hey, division games are tough. Week 8 at Kansas City, Monday Night Football, coming off a loss to the Cowboys, and they drop another one. The Chiefs are a really good team. They're still Super Bowl contender. They're still a playoff team in my mind. And the Commanders are as well. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs are just a veteran team. This is a game that we'll probably have a lot of points in. We could definitely see some fantasy scoring going on in this game. But I got the Chiefs winning it. Commanders dropping it. So they're 5-3 now. Week 9 versus Seattle, Sunday Night Football. Coming off of 2 losses, that's a win for the Commanders. They're not going 0-3 real quick. So Commanders get that win over Seahawks. Week 10 versus Detroit, they drop another. Lions get a win. Commanders get the loss. Week 11 versus Miami. This is one of those overseas games again. And I got the Commanders getting a win over the Dolphins across the pond there. So moving into the bye, they are 7-4. It's a good start. Week 12 bye. Week 13 versus Denver. 2 weeks to prepare for a Sunday night football game. I just like that Broncos defense, you guys. And Bo Nix is a stable back. And they just re-signed Cortland Sutton, or extended Sutton, I should say. They got everything going in the right direction. Signing Ingram, getting R.J. Harvey. They got some weapons to go with Bo Nix this year. And I think it's going to be a much more complete team and be a chance at a Super Bowl run. So I got Denver getting a win. Commanders taking a loss. Week 14 at Minnesota, that's a win. I just think the Commanders are a little bit better team than the Vikings, and they pull out the win in this game. Week 15 at the Giants. It's just one of those games. Pass rush gets Jaden Daniels. He takes some sacks sometimes that you hate to see. He's still learning. And this is just one of those games that somehow they pull out. Washington's defense misses a couple coverages or something. You never know, but maybe some turnovers on Daniels' part, or Eckler, Brian Robinson fumbles or something. There's always a wild game, especially later in the season, division game. So I got the Giants getting a win, Commanders dropping a game. Week 16 versus Philly. Big game here against a division opponent that they're contending with for the division. And they get the win over Philly the first matchup. I think it's at home. That's what makes me give them the win there. Week 17 versus Dallas. They already lost the first one to them. This is the Christmas game that I was talking about with the Cowboys. So this is an afternoon game on Christmas, I believe. And Washington gives their fans some nice presents with a W. Week 18 at Philadelphia. They just beat Philly. And this is for the division, I believe, because they'd be 11-6 and 11-6. Yeah. So this is for the division. Philly gets the win. Commanders take the loss. Philly wins the division on that game. Commanders overall finished 10-7. They're 3-3 in the division, 7-5 in the conference. A couple big wins that they did have that will matter in the scheme of things. Definitely their conference record being a winning record. Game over Atlanta is a huge game for them. So that was the big one that mattered when it came down to the final playoff spots and stuff. You'll see that once we do that video. But Washington finishes 10-7 and does make the playoffs. On to the New York Giants, 4th team and final team in the NFC East. Last year went 3-14, obviously missed the playoffs, had a disaster at quarterback. They tried to rectify that by getting Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and drafting Jackson Dart after trading back into the first round. Will it make a difference? Will their schedule be too tough for them to actually win enough games to do anything? Is Brian Dable on the hot seat? These are all questions I have about the Giants. Is their run game even good enough right now? I like Tracy. He had some big games last year, like I said. But their offensive line has to improve still. They've made some I believe they signed a guy and drafted a guy. So it's definitely an attempt to improve it. Their defensive pass rush is obviously going to be great. But can they play against the run? We're still unsure. Javon Holland, a safety, signing him. Love that move. But the Giants, like I said, between their own division and some of the other games they played, it's going to be a rough go. Week 1 at Washington, just to talk about it with the Commander schedule, this is a loss. Week 2 at Dallas, another loss. Week 3 versus Kansas City, Sunday Night Football, primetime. Chiefs ain't losing to the Giants right there in Week 3. So 0-3, going into Week 4 versus the Chargers. Chargers are just a better team. I'm sorry to tell you, Giants fans, they are. Chargers get a win. That's 0-4. Week 5 at the Saints. Giants are like, yes, let's get our first win. Get a matchup against someone of our same skill level. and somehow they blow it. Maybe it's a Russell Wilson fumble interception. Maybe it's the Giants defense doesn't hold up on the back end. Shuck hits a Olave for a deep one, or Rashid Shaheed. I just had the Saints winning that game. I think it'll be an interesting game. Definitely the one the Giants could win, but I got the Saints winning it. So 0-5, week 6 versus Philly, Thursday night football, coming off a 0-5 start. They're not beating Philly in this game. I don't care what you think, how much you want it to happen, Giants fans. I'm sorry, the Eagles are just better, flat out better. And they will show it in this game. So 0-6, week 7 at Denver. This is why I was talking about their schedule, man. Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, the Chargers, the Saints are the only relief, and I gave them a loss in that game, versus Philly, and at Denver. We're going to keep going after this, but let's get this Denver game down, because that's a loss. You're not beating the Broncos. Very few teams will this year. Week 8 at Philly again. Now you're at Philly. They came to your place, you lost. You go to Philly, you lose again. This is 0-8. Week 9 versus San Francisco at home. Now, this is another chance for a win simply because the Niners are known to blow a game they should not blow. They should not lose a game. But maybe there's some injuries. They're already having some issues right now with guys. This is later in the season. The Niners are known to have a bunch of injuries every now and again. It's highly possible that could be the case. The Giants get a win. But I don't have them getting a win. I have them getting a loss because I'm not counting on injuries. I'm counting on the talent that's on the roster. And the Niners are better than the Giants. Week 10 at Chicago. Now, that pass rush gets to Caleb Williams, Giants win this game. If Caleb Williams gets rid of the ball, Ben Johnson dials it up, Chicago Bears defense holds up, Malik Neighbors can have all the fantasy points he wants in garbage time. But at the end of the day, guys, I don't have faith in the Giants offense, even with Russ. Like, Jameis is more fun for fantasy. Jackson Dart's probably the best quarterback, but needs time to sit behind and see how. Like, I believe in sitting rookies, so I'm fine with the process they're going through. But by this time, Jackson Dart could be starting. You don't start 0-9, 0-10, because this is week 10 and they lost to Chicago. So that's 0-10. Week 11 versus Green Bay. That's a loss. The Packers come in, get a win versus the Giants. Now, that's another one of those games. They could definitely win if. That if it was the 5th, we'd all be drunk. Maybe people will be drunk at this game because if you're 0-11, trust me, you're not going to want, or 0-10, you're not going to want to drop to 0-11 like you just did. But at the end of the day, 0-11. Week 12 at Detroit. Not on the same level as the Lions. No offense, Giants fans, you're just not. 10 years ago, we could have a different conversation. This is 2025, not the same level of talent. Detroit gets a win, drops the Giants to 0-12. Week 13 at New England, Monday Night Football, 0-12. I don't even know if Dable's here anymore. Jackson Dart should definitely be starting by now. And I got the Giants getting a win over the Patriots. Like I said, I like the Patriots' improvements they've made, but chemistry is chemistry. You haven't played together with guys. It takes time. Sometimes it takes more than a year. But Patriots, we'll get into there. We're going to AFC East after the NFC East here. So we will get into that. But this is a loss for the Patriots, and the Giants get their first win. Going into the bye week, week 14, coming out of the bye week, week 15 versus Washington, 2 weeks to prepare. Washington's coming off a game against Minnesota they just won. I got the Giants stealing a win from the Commanders late in the season, not one that the Commanders can afford to drop right now, competing with Philly for the division. But it's a division game, and the Giants will just come out and play a tough game. Like I said, I don't know if it was a couple turnovers. I don't know if Neighbors just went absolutely nuts and had a 250-yard, 3-touchdown game. Whatever happened, I got the Giants getting a win here. Week 16 versus Minnesota, we're back in the loss column. The Vikings put up some points, get enough stops on defense. Now, this is a game that the Giants could win again. The Giants could go 7-10, but I don't think they're going better than 7-10. I got them at 3-14 overall because they dropped this one to Minnesota. They dropped week 17 at Las Vegas to the Raiders. Just think the Raiders are a little bit better team. And week 18 versus Dallas, they get a win. Cowboys are giving up, like I talked about with their schedule. Giants get the win to finish the season, get a little bit of momentum for those young guys. Vets are pissed. They're probably considering asking for a trade or not re-signing. Final record for the Giants: 3-14, 2-4 in the division. Not a chance at the playoffs. Who knows what's going on with the front office, the coaching staff? Who's at quarterback to end the season? Do they just ride this out and let Jackson Dart sit all season? Say we're going to build more around you next off season. Definitely could trade. Some trades could definitely be happening with the Giants. That's part of why I have them with such a bad record. You start 0-7, 0-8, you're definitely considering trading veterans that you can afford to trade. So something to consider, and definitely how I got the Giants finishing is 3-14. Overall in the NFC East, Philly wins with a 12-5 record, 4-2 in the division. Commanders come in second at 10-7 and 3-3 in the division. Dallas is third, 7-10, 3-3 in the division, and the Giants round out the basement at 3-14 and 2-4 in the division. We're going to take a break. We will come back and do the AFC East, our final division of the offseason. Next video will be our playoff predictions and Super Bowl winner. And then we're going to kick it off with a lot of fantasy stuff going into the season. We're going to give you some updated rankings, some deeper rankings than we gave originally. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick breather. And we are back. Welcome back in, everybody. After a quick break, we just finished up the NFC East. The Eagles won it again. No surprise there, I think, to most people. Some people in that division are probably hoping their Commanders can overtake the Eagles or the Cowboys can bounce back and Eagles falter. But right now, I got the Eagles winning the division in the NFC East. So we move on to our final division of the offseason. That's the AFC East. Last year, the Bills went 13-4. They were division champs. They beat Denver and Baltimore in the playoffs and then lost to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. They have a history of losing to Kansas City in the playoffs. Last year was no different. This year, they're hoping for a different outcome. Getting into it, the Bills, week 1 versus Baltimore, Sunday night football. That's the opening week Sunday night game. I got the Bills dropping this one and Baltimore starting 1-0. Week 2 at the New York Jets, division opponent. The Jets would love to get a win here, but after losing to Baltimore, I don't see the Bills starting 0-2, so they get a win over the Jets. Week 3 versus Miami on Thursday night football. Played a couple tough defenses. They get a little bit of a breather here, get another win. Week 4 versus the Saints. This is one of those, not a chance in hell the Saints can win this game. Simply because they're just on two different levels. Two teams on two different levels. Saints are just starting out again. They're trying to figure out how long it's going to take to build back up to being a contender. Bills are a contender. So Bills get the win, go to 3-1. Week 5 versus New England on Sunday night football. The Patriots made some improvements. We keep talking about this. We'll get to them here in a little bit. But division game earlier in the season, still figuring out their parts. The Bills are just a better team. They get the win, go to 4-1. Week 6 at Atlanta, Monday night football. This was a tougher game to choose just because of how much I like what Atlanta's done and how big of a fan of Michael Penix I am, period. So I ended up giving the Bills the win. Atlanta takes a loss, and the Bills go into a Week 7 bye. This is one of those I wish they had a later bye, simply because the Bills know who they are. They're not trying to figure things out. They don't have to change offensive coordinators and go through that whole transition and stuff. So a later bye probably would have helped with the Bills, especially on a 5-game win streak here. You hate to see this breakup in the wins, but they get 2 weeks to prepare, and they're playing at Carolina when they come back out of the bye. That's a win for the Bills. Week 9 versus Kansas City. We just talked about they lost in the AFC Championship game last year. Well, now they lose in the regular season. Usually they beat the Chiefs in the regular season. I got the Chiefs winning this one, and the Bills dropping to 6-2. Week 10 at Miami. At Miami. I got them taking a loss here. They beat Miami earlier in the season. Now they go down there to South Beach later in the season. Still hot. I know if you've watched that stadium, I know the Bills have played there before, but the stadium, the way they designed it, the visitor team is in the sun all game long. So I think that's hilarious and a strategic move. But at the end of the day, I do have Miami getting a win and the Bills getting a loss. Versus Tampa Bay, week 11. I got this as a win. I think the Bucs could win this game, and it should be a very competitive game, very fruitful for fantasy points. But I did give the Bills the win and the Bucs the loss. Week 12 at Houston, Thursday night football. Another one of those games, man. I consider giving the opponent the win, but I just couldn't convince myself they could stop Josh Allen for 4 quarters and end up giving the Bills the win there versus Houston. But it's definitely a game I could see going either way. I think it'll be a tight game. Houston's got a great defense, and Stroud and those young receivers to go with Nico Collins. They got a really good team, but I got the Bills getting a win there. And we move on to week 13 at Pittsburgh. We watched our AFC North preview. You know, I got the Steelers going 7-10. This is one of those 10. Bills get the win. Pittsburgh loses. Moving on to week 14, another AFC East opponent versus Cincinnati. I got them getting a win. I don't think Cincinnati will be able to slow the Bills down. I do think the Bills will be able to slow the Bengals down a little bit. But at the end of the day, the Bengals can put up points. This is another one of those games. You could go either way, guys. Week 15 at New England, that's a win. I got them sweeping the Patriots, winning at home and on the road. So Patriots lose 2 division losses, have 2 division losses there, and the Bills get 2 division wins. Week 16 at Cleveland, I just think the Bills are the better team. That pass rush is dangerous, but I don't have faith. I think Shador is probably starting by now, and I'm not a big Shador guy. If you've watched any of our draft preview, you know that. But at the end of the day, either Flacco's starting or Shador is starting probably. Maybe Dylan Gabriel. I definitely don't think he's beating the Bills. So we'll see what happens. But I got the Cleveland taking a loss. Bills getting another win. Week 17 versus Philly, last year's Super Bowl champs. We just did the NFC East. You've seen that them and Washington were contending for the division towards the end of the year. So I got Philly winning this one and stealing one from the Bills, trying to lock up the NFC East. Going into week 18 versus the Jets, I got that as a win. I think that the Jets are going to be very competitive. We're going to get on their schedule next. I think the Jets are going to win some games and possibly be a playoff team. But I think the Bills are the more veteran team, the team that's been there and done that, and they get that win in week 18. So overall, I got the Bills matching last year's record, surprisingly, at 13-4. They go 5-1 in the division and 9-3 in the conference. I don't think that ends up playing a part, but I had to go through all the conference records and tiebreaker stuff in case anybody had the same record. So moving on to the New York Jets. They got a new coach in AG, Aaron Glenn, new quarterback in Justin Fields, some good defense. They lost a couple guys in free agency, but they lost DJ Reed to the Lions and signed the DB from Baltimore to replace him. So I think they're still going to have a really good defense this year. I think Justin Fields' running capabilities, Garrett Wilson. It did just come out that Mason Taylor has a high ankle sprain, so he could start the season on the PUP list if they're expecting him to miss more than like 5-6 weeks. But it's something we'll have to find out more information as it comes out. But that just came out that it does have a high ankle sprain. So it's Jeremy Rucker or Stone Smart that are going to be playing tight end for the Jets to start off. That does hurt their offense a little bit, but Rucker's a third-year guy now, and it showed some flashes. And Stone Smart showed some things when he was with the Chargers. So I think the two of them will be okay there at tight end, helping out Justin Fields. And Breece Hall has been playing at receiver. You hear this about a lot of running backs in the preseason and training camp. All this receivers lining up this running backs lining up a lot in the slot or out wide or whatever, just for the new offense. The Jets got a new OC in Ingstrom coming over from the Lions with Aaron Glenn. We're going to see what the Jets could be. I think the Jets are going to be much improved from last year. So let's get into their schedule. Week 1 versus Pittsburgh. Steelers signed Aaron Rodgers. This is Justin Fields' old team. I think the Jets are a little bit better team, and they get the win to start 1-0. So week 2 versus Buffalo, as we just talked about with the Bills schedule. I don't see the Bills dropping their first 2 after losing to Baltimore in week 1. They beat the Jets. We move on to week 3. At Tampa Bay, we just went over to NFC South in our last video. I still do have the Bucs winning the division, but a rough start includes a loss to the Jets here. So the Jets start 2-1. Move on to week 4 at Miami. Monday night football game, division opponent. it's still warm enough where the Jets aren't going to be affected by the weather change from New York to Miami right now here early in the season. And it's definitely going to be a game that I think Fields could go crazy against that defense with his running capability and the ability to drop bombs. So maybe this is where Arian Smith has a nice little breakout game, the rookie. Maybe Josh Reynolds and Garrett Wilson combined for a lot. Maybe Brees Hall and Braylon Allen just go crazy. But it's one where I got the Jets winning over the Dolphins, moving to 3-1. Week 5 versus Dallas at home. I got the Cowboys winning this. We just went over the NFC East. So if you remember that, Cowboys won this game week 5. Week 6 versus Denver. This is one of those overseas games. Jets got a shorter trip. We'll see how everybody handles those. Some teams like to go over earlier in the week so they can try to get acclimated to the time change. But I still think the Jets could still win here. Denver just falters, maybe a Bo Nix turnover, maybe a couple fumbles. Who knows what happens? It's just one where I think that the Jets could steal a game against a really good opponent, maybe because they're underestimated, maybe because they're tired with the overseas trip. At the end of the day, the Jets move to 4-1. I'm sorry, 4-2. And we move on to week 7 versus Carolina. I think the Jets are a better team. I like Tedero McMillan. Bryce Young's got to prove that he can continue to do what he did in the second half of last season. I know enough about Justin Fields to trust that he's the better quarterback than Bryce Young right now, overall, with all his skills included. So Jets get a win. Carolina takes the loss. Week 8 at Cincinnati. This is one of those games the Jets lose, man. Cincinnati puts up a 40 spot on them. Jets don't maybe score 31 or something. Just can't keep up with the scoring. Defense lets them down a little bit. With those receivers Cincinnati's got, it's going to be tough to guard them. I just think that Cincinnati's going to have a rough go of it if you watched our other video, simply because of defensive issues. Hendrickson's still not. We got an extension. I don't believe I said this before. I'm not sure if the second rounder is signed yet. I know they got Shamar Stewart in camp. I do like that because I'm a big fan of his. But DB issues, they just got a lot of issues on defense, and I don't expect them to be a very good one. But I do expect their offense to be explosive, and this is one of those games where their explosive offense takes a win from the Jets, gives it to the Bengals. Week 9, they got their bye week off a loss after to Cincy there. 2 weeks to prepare for a game against conference opponent versus Cleveland at home. I got them getting a win. Now, this is a game that was tougher for me to choose, similar to that Dallas game, simply for the fact that I think Cleveland's defense is really good on the front seven, and even with Denzel Ward at corner, they got some players on defense that are explosive. And if Flacco is playing well, Cleveland could steal this game. But if they're in a transition period where Cleveland's lost some games and they're not sure if they want to start Flacco anymore, he's looking older, whatever it is, Jets come out and get this win off a 2-week preparation. Moving on to week 11 at New England, Thursday night football. Quick turnaround after a tough game against Cleveland. I got the Patriots taking this one. Jets dropping the game. Week 12 at Baltimore. 2 teams on 2 different levels. I think Baltimore is one of the best teams in the league. I think the Jets are in playoff contention, but not going to beat Baltimore here. Week 13 versus Atlanta. I got that as a win. They steal a win from Atlanta later in the season. That I think Atlanta just let up their guard on what they were doing. They've had a tough schedule. They know they're competing for the division over there. They can't really afford a loss, but they do drop one here to the Jets. Week 14 versus Miami. They won the first game down at Miami. Miami comes up to New York and steals a win, putting up some points on the board. Week 15 at Jacksonville. I got that as a win. I do like what the Jags are moving towards with the new offense that they're going to be running. But I still think the Jets' defense is really good, and I don't think the Jags' defense is super threatening. So I got the Jets getting a win. It's a game that could go either way, probably a closer game. But I got the Jets getting a win. So Week 16 at New Orleans Saints. I got that as a win. I think that defense will be able to slow down the Saints offense, and I do not think the Saints offense will be able to contain what they're going to be trying to run with their run game and play action game to Garrett Wilson out there. So I got the Saints dropping one and the Jets getting another win. Week 17 versus New England. They just dropped one in New England about 5 weeks earlier at New England. Here at home, they get the win. They're trying to make the playoffs. It's a big win here at the end of the season versus a division opponent. Going into Week 18 at Buffalo. That's another loss for the Jets. I don't think I think Buffalo again is the more experienced team, just like I talked about with the Bills schedule, and I think it's just a game they end up pulling out. It's probably a tough game, a 24-21 game. Buffalo just comes out on top at the end there. Overall, Jets go 10-7 and 2-4 in the division. You don't like that, but you do love the 10-7. That gives them a chance at the playoffs. You go 6-6 in the conference. They were up and down against their AFC, but right now they're 10-7, and they are one of the teams in playoff contention for I think the 6th seed right now. So there's a good chance they're making the playoffs, barring what happens with these other two teams. But I do have the Jets having a 10-7 record. On to the Miami Dolphins. Last year, the Dolphins went 8-9. We know about the injuries with Tua. We know about Tyreek Hill. Pre-game activities with the police, the wrist injury. He looked a little off last year playing that way. They suffered a lot of defensive injuries last year and have suffered a lot of defensive losses. They don't have any other starters in the defensive backfield from last year between the trade of Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland signing with the Giants. Their other safety left. They ended up signing Ife Melifonwu from the Lions, who was their third string there in Detroit. But big guy I like. But he's not the level of Branch or Kirby there in Detroit. You know what I mean? He's a good player. You'll be happy to have him back there, but he's not Javon Holland even in my mind. And now the guy at the one corner that they did have, he's out for the season. So they have 0 starters in the defensive backfield between the safeties and starting 2 DBs. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this Dolphins defense. But like I said, last year, 8-9, they missed the playoffs because of games at the end of the season. Just couldn't get the wins they needed. And we move into a week 1 game at Indianapolis. We just did the Colts on the last video. This is a win for the Colts, and the Dolphins dropped week 1 game. Just getting caught off guard, man. Who knows what's happening with Mike McDaniels there? Like I said, I don't know if he's going to make it through the season or not. We're going to find out as we go along. Week 2 versus New England. I got that as a win. They don't want to start 0-2. They know that. They could probably score a little more than New England, and New England's defense is still working out the ins and outs of their defense. Vrabel's a hell of a coach. I think New England's going to get things turned around here, but I don't think it's going to happen this early in the season. Week 3 at Buffalo, Thursday night football. Coming off a division game against the Patriots, they just won, riding high. They come out and lose to Buffalo at Buffalo. Week 4 versus the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. So they get like 11, 12 days here between the Thursday nighter against the Bills and the Monday nighter versus the Jets. But it's still a loss for the Dolphins, like we just talked about with the Jets schedule. Week 5 at the Carolina Panthers. Going to Carolina. I just think the Dolphins score a little bit more. Probably ends up being a game where neither defense shows out a lot. Get some 31-28, 31-24 game, something like that. Dolphins get the win. Carolina takes the loss. Week 6 versus the LA Chargers at home. West Coast coming to East Coast, but the Chargers are just a better team, and they're used to the warm weather. They're in San Diego. They're in Los Angeles. They used to be the San Diego Chargers. But I'm not worried about the weather concerns going to Miami for the Chargers. Week 7 at Cleveland. This is going to be a tough game. Could go either way. I think the defense makes enough stops. And the Browns get their win there. So Dolphins are currently 2-5 going into a Week 8 game at Atlanta. They're going to have to score some points to go with Atlanta, and I got them doing just that. Maybe Penix comes out, has a rough game this week. Who knows? Maybe the defense, they still got some young defensive pieces that are going to have to be consistent all the time, and maybe this is one of those games the Falcons defense just lets up. But the Dolphins put up enough points to get the win against Atlanta. Definitely a fantasy game right here in my mind. I think there's definitely some points that could be scored. And Dolphins come out on top of that one. Week 9 versus Baltimore. Thursday night football. Coming off a win against a tough Falcons team. Baltimore is just the better team. They get the win. Dolphins take a loss. Moving on to Week 11 versus Washington, the Commanders, in an overseas game. Jaden Daniels, you know how I feel about him. We just talked about in the NFC East. I think he's a superstar. I think he's the next Lamar Jackson, and he's already a better passer than Lamar was coming out. So I got the Commanders winning this, Dolphins dropping the game. Going into their Week 12 bye, got 2 weeks to prepare, coming out versus the Saints. I got the Dolphins winning that game. This is the game that the Saints could steal, though. Don't fool yourself. If Shuck's playing better than he did in the first half of the season, or he's taking over for Rattler by this point, and Rattler was sucking ass in the first half of the season, who knows? At the end of the day, I got the Dolphins getting a win over the Saints here. Just think that they're going to be able to put up enough points. Week 14 at the New York Jets. They won the game, they lost the game earlier in the season, and they end up winning this game at New York later in the season. Week 15 at Pittsburgh, Monday Night Football. Huge game. I shouldn't say huge game. Big game for the Dolphins. If they have any chance, they got to win out. They do not win this game. Lost there to Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football at Pitt. If it would have been in Miami, I might have gave the Dolphins the win. I don't see them going to Pittsburgh later in the season into a cold situation and getting that win. We know the history of Tua in cold weather and Tua against above 500 teams and Tua not playing. So there's a lot of questions with the Dolphins. And this is not a game I see them winning against that defense. Week 16 versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Sunday Night Football. This is just going to be a fantasy delight for everybody involved. If you got guys in this game, I think you're going to be happy. I don't think either team is going to be very much stopping anybody on defense. This could end up being a 45-42 game, and it's just an offensive explosion, one that I have the Dolphins winning, though. Bengals take a late season loss. Dolphins get a late season win, even though they probably just blew their chances with that loss against Pittsburgh. Week 17 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucs are the better team, guys. They're a Florida team. They're not worried about the heat. They know what's going on. That's a loss for the Dolphins. Playoff chances out the window. Week 18 at New England. Who knows if some of these players are even playing for the Week 18 game. You got the New England Patriots coming. The Dolphins going to New England late in the season. Cold weather up there in the Northeast. Patriots get a win probably with that run game of Henderson and Ramondre. Tough defense by this time. They're playing tough late in the season for Vrabel. And the Dolphins drop another one. So losing the last 2 and 3 of the last 4 is going to be a rough way to end the season, not make the playoffs. You finish the season 7-10, drop the game from last year. They were 8-9 last year, 3-3 in the division. So you want to be 500 above in the division. They did that part, but just not enough wins out of division. Dropping to 7-10, not making the playoffs. Moving on to the New England Patriots. Last year, the Patriots went 4-13. Everybody got fired. Drake May's about the only thing left behind on offense because they got new offensive linemen, got new receivers. Kayshon Boutte's there still, and Demario Douglas, but you know what I mean with Stephon Diggs and Ryan Williams in the draft. Along with Mac Hollins, they signed. They got a lot of new pieces. They kept Hooper on another deal. They still have Hunter Henry. The biggest thing here is Travion Henderson. I think he's going to be a fantasy stud by week 6. I don't know how much it's going to transfer into wins because fantasy and football and real football are 2 completely different things. You can score 50 points in fantasy, and all 5 teams that you have players on lost their game. So this is where the wins and losses are going to matter in real football. Like I said, last year they went 4-13. Got a new head coach in Mike Vrabel. We're starting off here week 1 versus Las Vegas, and it's a loss. They start off 0-1. Raiders come in, get an early season win. Ginty goes off. Maybe Geno has a big game with that rookie Dante Thornton and Jacoby Myers and superstar Brock Bowers. Just think the Patriots got a better offensive skill set. As much as I like what the Patriots have done, don't think they're better than the Raiders offense right now. Week 2 at Miami. We just went over the Dolphins schedule. This is a loss for the Patriots and a win for the Dolphins. 0-2. Week 3 versus Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers should be clicked by now. Caleb Johnson, I'm a big fan of his. They still got Jaylen Warren. I got Pittsburgh getting a win. Patriots taking a loss as they're still working on chemistry issues, still working on how they want to run the offense with McDaniels back there again. And they start 0-3. Week 4 versus Carolina at home. Panthers coming to town. This is what they needed, a remedy game. I get the Patriots getting a win, getting their first win of the season. Panthers taking a loss. They move to 1-3. Week 5 at Buffalo, exactly what you didn't need. Sunday night, or is it Sunday night? Sunday night football game. Buffalo is just a better team. They get the win. Patriots take a loss. Week 6 at the New Orleans Saints. They're going to the Saints. This was a game I was thinking about giving to the Saints, but I give to the Patriots because of their defensive improvements. Christian Gonzalez is still a stud at corner. And with Travion and the new offensive pieces, I think they could put enough points on the board to beat the Saints there. Week 7 at Tennessee. Cam Ward at home, still a rookie, going to have a tough go against this defense. Don't think Tennessee's defense, but they did just re-sign Quandre Diggs, who I'm a huge fan of. I think some of their improvements help the Titans get a win here with Cam Ward, the rookie, with Calvin Ridley, Ayamainer. Just enough to do with Tony Pollard in the backfield and Spears. Enough to put enough points on there to give the Titans the win and the Patriots the loss. Week 7 versus Cleveland. Browns are a tough out. I told you this. I think their defense is impeccable. Just have no faith in their offensive consistency. I think the Patriots are going to be kind of like that. I don't know how consistent their offense is going to be, but it's consistent enough this game to get them a win. They get to 3-5 versus the Browns there. Moving into Week 9 versus Atlanta. Atlanta's a better team this year in my mind. So Atlanta gets the win. Patriots drop another one. Week 10 at Tampa Bay. Again, Atlanta's better, so are the Bucks. Bucks get a win. Patriots drop another one. They're now 3-8 or 3-7. Week 11 versus the New York Jets. Thursday night football, quick turnaround. I got them getting a win here on Thursday night against the Jets. Jets had a tough turnaround and ends up costing them here on a quick turnaround there on a Thursday night game. Patriots get a division win. We move into Week 12 at Cincinnati. If this was in New England, I would consider that the Patriots would win this game. Being that it's on the road, the new defensive pieces aren't going to have that crowd behind them. And Cincinnati can put up points, man. I don't think there's any doubt about that in anybody's mind. Their concern is their defense. So Cincinnati gets the win. Patriots drop a game. Week 13 versus the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. This is a loss. This is one of those Giants win where that pass rush shows up enough for us or Jameis or Jackson, whoever's in. I think Jackson Dart could be in by this. This is part of why I have the Giants winning this game. I think Dart could come in by here. I do think he's going to end up being their best quarterback on the roster this year, but who knows if he's going to play or not. But right now I got the Giants winning, the Patriots losing. Definitely a game I could see going either way. Losing 2 going into your bye week, late season, week 14 bye. This is a team that would be better off with an early bye, try to get settled after a couple tough losses there. But here we are, week 14, coming out of the bye. We go into week 15 versus Buffalo. Already lost the first game to Buffalo. They're getting swept by Buffalo this year. Sorry, Patriots fans, just how it is. Buffalo gets a win. Patriots get a loss. Week 16 at Baltimore, not on the same level. Now, if Baltimore's undefeated at this point, they're sitting people or they got 1 or 2 losses. Maybe they sit some people for the last few weeks. I don't think that's happening. It's definitely not happening in my predictions. So I got Baltimore getting a win. Patriots taking another loss. Week 17 at the New York Jets, another division game. They beat the Jets the first time. They're losing there in New York this time. That's a loss. That's their fifth straight loss with the bye weeks shoved in there. And going into week 18 versus a Miami team that's already lost their chance of the playoffs. Like I said, probably sitting some guys. Patriots are still trying to finish out the season strong. But the way Vrabel teams do, they fight to the end. I give him Vrabel credit on that for his teams. And they get a win. Dolphins get a loss. Overall, Patriots go 5-12, so they get a 1-game improvement, but not the jump I think Patriots fans would want to see. 2-4 in the division, though. Definitely could have got a couple more wins, but getting swept by Buffalo hurts you. And overall, Patriots are not making the playoffs. So at the end of the day, in our AFC East here, final record predictions, the Bills are 13-4, 5-1 in the division. Jets go 10-7, 2-4 in the division. Dolphins go 7-10, 3-3 in the division. And the Patriots rounded out at 5-12 and 2-4 in the division. Now, definitely division games are always tough, so some of these could go a different way. Some of these other games for like the Patriots, like I said, there's a few games in there. I gave the other team a win. Maybe the Patriots can win that, get a little bit better of a record, but I don't see them winning more than 7-8 games at most. And they're probably like 4 or 5 win team this year. So Dolphins, they went 8-9 last year. They're 7-10 this year. They're a very similar team. I don't know if Mike McDaniels is the coach next year. If they go 7-10, he's probably not. So, Jets, good jump off. There's been some rough reports in the preseason right now about inconsistency at QB, but I've never thought Fields was the most consistent quarterback. It's about those legs. The threat of him running and his capability of running. He's a hell of a runner. And if they use him that way off of play action, the RPOs with Brees Hall and Braylon Allen, it's going to be a dangerous offense, man. That's just all there is to it. And the Bills are the Bills. They're a really good team. So, Bills, Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, AFC East, and all divisions we are now through. We get to move on. Our next video go into the playoffs and Super Bowl predictions. And it will be all fantasy for almost all the time, other than NFL news going in that feeds into that. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. Click that subscribe button if you would. And until next time, I hope you're having a good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're watching. We'll see you next episode, guys. I'm out. First up, Punts!